Hey everybody, it's Michael from Replica Airguns here, bringing to you a video tutorial or how-to video. I'm going to show you how to load CO2, BBs, pellets into air pistols. Alright, so you'll notice we kind of have a visitor here. This is Dijon. Hey buddy. He looked kind of lonely today. He's a sort of a family pet. He's a bearded dragon. He's not too bad. He's pretty old actually. We're not sure exactly how old he is. We've had him, we got him used, say used, we got him previously owned, and we think he's about 7 or 8. They can live up to 10 years old. For the most part, he doesn't do a whole lot of stuff. He's probably just going to hang out right there. Oh, I think he's getting hungry. I'm going to have to feed him a little later. Anyways, so he's going to hang out. Hopefully he doesn't wander off while we make this video. Let's get started. Let's talk about ammo. What do you need for air guns in most cases? Now, we're not talking about airsoft. We're talking about sort of BBs, these steel BBs here, right? And oh, I got a ping going on. That's my phone. I should turn that off. So we're talking about steel BBs. We're talking about lead pellets, and for the most part, we're talking about .177 caliber pellets, these guys, and 4.5 millimeter steel BBs. Now, a lot of airsoft guns will load up almost exactly the same. You'll see crossovers with airsoft and pellet pistols and BB pistols. Well, mainly BB and airsoft. A lot of crossover there. Not so much pellet because they do load a little differently. So let's talk about, first of all, the CO2. This is the primary, I guess, propellant you'd call it, for most BB pistols, so 4.5 millimeter steel BBs, and most CO2 pellet guns, well, all CO2 pellet pistols. Alright. Now with airsoft, you're going to have gases that you can load up like propane and green gas, but some airsoft will use these guys as well. Now these are pretty much the most common size, 12 gram CO2. You don't really see any other sizes. I believe there were smaller ones for some of the older guns. Maybe they were 10 or 8 gram, I'm not sure. But 12 gram CO2 are the ones you use. They're non-refillable. I get asked all the time, can you refill them? No. Can you take them out once they've been pierced? No. See, once they're pierced on the top, that's it. You got to shoot all of it, right? Should you leave it in the gun for a long period of time? I don't recommend it, because what happens is the end of this right here, this guy is sitting on the seal, applying pressure, and it crimps that seal. Over time, it can compress the seal permanently. So let's say if you use a different brand that has a different shaped tip, it's not going to seal so well. So, especially if you're switching brands of CO2, not a good idea. Can you leave it in for like a couple weeks tops? Sure. Can you leave it in for a couple days? No problem. My recommendation is try to shoot it all out when you can, when you're shooting it. They don't last that long, really. Anywhere from 50 to 100 plus shots. You can shoot that many shots pretty easy. So now the other question is, do you need this in the gun if it's a CO2 gun? Absolutely. This is your gunpowder, so to speak. So imagine a real bullet. It's got the shell, it's got the gunpowder and primer, and it's got the bullet in the front. Without the gunpowder and primer, without the firing mechanism, the bullet doesn't go anywhere. So this is your propellant. You have to have it in the gun. I do get asked that question a lot. Alright, so other things to consider. When you're dealing with pellet guns and BB guns, they tend to use completely different loading mechanisms. Most pellet guns will have a rotary magazine, something like this. Right, there's a rotary section because you can't really stack these guys. Lead pellets don't stack. They're oval. They don't sort of stack up against each other. And if they did, the lead might, it might push together. It's just not going to feed very well. So you typically, with pellet magazines, there's some sort of rotary magazine. Even if it's a stick mag, like this guy, even if it's a stick mag, it still has a rotary mag in it somewhere. See how it's rotary? Okay. You compare that to even a basic, let's just grab one here, stick magazine. Trying not to drop anything on Dijon. Here's a BB stick mag. All the BBs just stack up right like that. Right? So you can see they kind of go in and they just go down there and they stack up. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about loading the CO2 in some of these guns and how they load, because there is different. Oh, you're trying to get me there, aren't you? Anyways, he's very, very calm, but I think he's hungry. So you'll see here, this cover just pops off the back, but there's a bay in there for your CO2. And typically, you have to unscrew this. You drop your CO2 in, Yeah, there it is. And then you would tighten it up. This is your typical piercing screw here, or your piercing tab with the screw, and it pushes the CO2 into the valve area. That's very typical for a lot of guns that have separate bays, I guess you'd call it, for the CO2. Let me get this out. Okay, so that's a very common method, and you'll see that method. You'll notice that sometimes you have to screw this back in a bit if you want to get your cover back on. Okay. And you'll see the Crossman here. This is the Crossman. Same basic system, although this just pops off. Still has the same sort of loading for the CO2. Okay, what else we got? Now some of these pellet guns, or BB guns, sorry, same type of idea, but you'll notice, and I want to show you this. This guy goes in, so he goes in there, loads from the back, not the side, and then what you do is you move this all the way around, so this is the closed position, make it unclosed, and then with this guy you would finger tighten this. So there's different, this is like a sort of a lever method, or lever method, whatever you want to call it. You finger tighten this as tight as you kind of can, and then you would spin this around to tighten it the rest of the way, okay? And that is a common way as well. There's sort of other ways of doing that. Let me show you. Put this guy down. So here's sort of something similar. Cover pops off. This is a pellet pistol as well. Same type of idea. Finger tighten it as much as you can, you know, not within reason, and then you push this down. I'm not gonna do it, but it would push it in, and that would come down, and it would pierce it all the way. Okay. Let's take a look at some other styles. So here's sort of this is like an airsoft style gun where you have the CO2 in the magazine, okay, and the BBs as well. So we'll talk about the BBs in a second. This guy just loads in like that, and then you'd use an Allen key to tighten that up, okay. That's very common for the airsoft CO2 guns. Oh, I think I scared him. You okay there, buddy? Hey, don't go away. Come on back. Let's go. You're okay. Oh, you're okay, buddy. Alright. Don't go away. Alright, so very common. And you'll see here. Oh, where are you going? He's gone. He might come back. Same type of thing. Now this one, I don't have my Allen key, but instead of popping through the side, you would unscrew this all the way, pop your CO2 in, and then screw that back in. And again, this is another magazine that has the BBs and the CO2 in it. Alright. And here is a CO2 BB pistol, again with BBs and CO2. And this guy, yeah, so this one, there's actually you have to take this off. Oh no, sorry. This one has a screw in the bottom. So you finger tighten it as much as possible and then screw it in the rest of the way. But BBs and CO2 in the magazine. Now the last one I want to show you in terms of loading BBs at least. This guy here. Okay. And you'll notice it's got the normal CO2 tab and screw. But this one actually has the BBs right in the gun itself. So it doesn't have a stick magazine, it's right here. And with this one, you would drop the BBs in there, they load up to the top. When it's all loaded up, you just release the follower there, and it's good, it's all loaded up. So, you know, no rapid, you can't drop the mag and put a new one in with this one, but you're never going to lose the magazine because it's part of the gun. And so that's kind of cool. Alright, so let's talk about, we pretty much talked about the CO2 and loading it. Let's talk about loading these guns, BBs and pellets. We'll do the pellets real quick first. Most of these guns with these this type of magazine, I'm just going to load one pellet in to show you, but you pop the pellet in and you obviously follow the instructions. You can see here load it in like this. Now you don't want to use a long pellet, because if it's too long it's going to stick out the top. It's going to go too far and it's going to come through. And with this type of rotor, with pellet guns, with the rotary magazines, you need to make sure that you have a pellet that works. You might not want to invest in a whole bunch of pellets. Work with some different pellets until you find ones that fit and work right. You want to push it all the way in there so that it doesn't stick out on either end, and then you rotate it, load your next pellet, okay? And that's pretty true with pretty much all of these guys. Same thing with these guys here, right? Pop it in. See how it's sticking out there? You want to push it all the way in until it's not sticking out. See, even that one's sticking out just a hair. You want to get it in as far as possible so that it's flush. Okay, I even made a little indent. Sometimes you can use a little tool. As long as it's not sticking out on either end, you're good to go. But as long as it's that way, you're not going to have it bind on anything. All right, let's talk about this. Is a little bit different. This is a Crossman, and you push this in, but again, you have a rotary magazine. Okay, it's just a different way of loading it. So that one loads like that. It's like a brake barrel. Whenever you do a brake barrel, use a brake barrel, push that in. It's going to save the metal on metal parts. Even though you could just snap it in, like I just did, push that down. It's going to save the wear and tear on those parts. Here's another rotary mag gun. Again, that's how you load this one, right? You just load up your magazine, you preload them, pop it in, close it up. Right, so once this guy's loaded up, put it in the right direction, so pellet head facing forward, load it up. Okay, so that's your pellet guns. Now in terms of BB guns, we'll talk a little bit about some of these all-in-one magazines. You'll notice with this one here, I can pull this down. It doesn't really, well, it does go a little further, so you might find that loading these ones is a little easier from the bottom. I've made videos where I haven't loaded them from the bottom, but doing that is a little bit easier than trying to load it from the top. Oh, there goes my BBs. Don't do that, because loading from the top is kind of arduous. You have to kind of press them in there, and it takes a little longer to do. So let's take a look at another one of those guys. Why are we looking at his butt? Come on, Dijon. So again, here's a magazine, and if the follower goes past that little groove there, you can load your BBs in the bottom. Some of them don't have the wider section, so you're going to have to load them from the top. Many are just like that. Right? That's just the way it is. So let's take a look at another magazine, for instance. Okay, now this one again, there's no channel to pop the BB in. So now it does have this little follower groove, but you would essentially load them from the top. What I find is I just put my finger down there so they don't fall through, angle it, and then drop them in. Like that. And then you'd release your follower. Alright, let's take a look here. What else do we have? I think that's pretty much it, but I do want to show this style of loading, which is your, don't want to hit Dijon in the face here, your shell style. This is Dan Wesson gun. A lot of the Dan Wessons, the Smith & Wessons, so Umarex, different guns like that will use this. So you just pop your BB in and you give it a push so that it's kind of flush like that. So you don't want it sticking out the top, and then this shell's loaded, okay? And then you'd put it back in the gun like a real bullet. That's pretty much it. I'm trying to think if I've missed anything. You know, people will ask, can you dry fire guns? Air guns, you can, a lot of them you can dry fire because, you know, especially if you have CO2 in them, you just obviously got to be careful. Don't assume there's no BB in it or pellet when you are dry firing a gun. You could be wrong, and then you could shoot somebody. But if you want to just dry fire with CO2, most of the time you're okay. With airsoft guns, they will, a lot of times, or even BB guns, the slides will lock back on the last round. So if you hold the slide catch down while you're shooting, the slide won't lock back. So you hold the slide catch down. That's one way to dry fire. There's something called the follower on a lot of these magazines. Hard to find out where it is exactly. Let me just... Okay, I want to show you what the follower is. So on this one, you'll see this that little guy there that's moving up and down, if you can see him. That little guy. That basically goes up into the gun, and when it gets to the top, it locks the slide back. So it actually pushes up on this so that the slide locks back in that position. The follower hits that little guy. And so if you hold this down, the gun will just keep cycling. Hey, Deej. Alright, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, again, crossover from BB, especially 4.5mm BB, to airsoft there's a huge crossover, with the exception of, you know, a lot of airsoft guns don't use CO2, they'll use gas, but they can use either or. In terms of pellet guns, I haven't seen really any pellet guns or any steel BB that use green gas, because green gas is not quite as powerful as CO2, and typically with a BB or pellet gun you want as much power as you can because the BB and pellet is heavier. Alright, that pretty much wraps up this tutorial how-to on how to load up your BB and pellet pistols. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Check me out on Facebook and Twitter. Username is Replica Airguns. Come on down to our replicaAirguns.com website, where we have our Canada and US stores where we carry air guns, BB, pellet, airsoft guns, blank guns, knives, and other accessories. Thanks for watching, and we want to thank our special guest Dijon here for also contributing to this video. Until next time, take care.